Hey guys, so in this video I'm going to show you how to complete your solutions analysis assignment. And first step is to go to Google Classroom, click Classwork, scroll all the way to the bottom, find Project Citizen, and then choose the link that says Solutions Sources. There you will find all of our topics that have chosen for the project. All you need to do is click on one of those topics and there will be, just like before, a bunch of links for you to choose from. Each one of those links has some laws or policies that have been passed in Colorado or in the US that you can read about and add to your research. So for my example, I'm going to stay with the topic of school dropouts. So if I were you as a student, first thing I click on a link. Okay, so I'm brought to this page. It's talking about a school attendance law in Colorado. So first step is to read to figure out what is this law? What is the point of it? Because the first question I need to answer is the what question. Is this a action or a regulation? What is the policy called? How does it work? So I read and I figure out, oh, okay, this is what the policy means. And honestly, this is really long. You probably don't need to read this entire page. I found the answer that I needed just by reading this first chunk of the text. Okay, so don't get overwhelmed when you see these giant documents. A lot of times I pointed you to the specific page where you can find the answers so that you don't have to read a 20-page document. So let's say that I did that. Great, I am ready to answer those first questions. So to save time, I've already put the answers there. So I'm just going to paste those right there. Okay, so from my research, I found out that this policy is called the School Attendance Law of 1963, Section 104. That answers one of those questions. Next, how does it work? Okay, it requires all students in middle and high school to attend 1,056 hours of school a year. Great. Now I just need to say, is this an action or a regulation? So I have to think, okay, is this law providing a service or money, or is it trying to control behavior? This policy is an example of regulation because it is trying to restrict the minimum hours that a student can be in school. So it's trying to control how many hours a student must be in school. So that is regulation. Great, I'm done with that part. Now I'm moving on to who. Where did this policy come from? If I check here, this is from the Colorado Department of Education. I know that this is a part of the state government. So again, I'm going to say this policy was created by the Colorado Department of Education. Great. Okay, next question. Year that it started and how long it lasted. This might be a little bit tricky to find on some of them. You may have to just type into Google, like copy and paste the title of the policy into Google and say, when did this policy start? But for me, in my example, it already tells me the answer. This started in 1963. So I'm just going to put a little sentence there. This policy began in 1963, comma, and it is still being used today. Okay, easy as pie. Last column is the advantages and disadvantages. So this is when you really need to think and pause and think about, okay, this is the policy. I know how it works. What are the strengths? What are the advantages? What are the weaknesses? What are the disadvantages? So for me, I'm thinking, okay, I'm trying to prevent students from dropping out. So one way that this helps prevent that from happening, one advantage or strength of the policy, is that it requires schools to keep track of which students are absent. So that way students need to report to the government how many days of school a student has missed so that we can stop that student from dropping out of school altogether. Now, a weakness that I think could be in this policy is that I know from my research about the problem that a lot of students they start to skip school or they stop showing up to school because of problems in academically or emotionally. And so I'm going to say one disadvantage of this policy, or one weakness, is that it does not require students to investigate the reasons students are missing school, which could prevent the absences from happening again. So just because the school has to report it to the government, that doesn't mean that the school is required to figure out what's going on with the student and help them come back to school and, attend school regularly so that they don't drop out. And that right there is a completed note chunk for one of the policies, one of the solutions that you read. You only need to do 3 of these to get a complete, to have that completed. The CFS is right below, and we're going to talk about that in class in a second. So, yeah.